Good evening. You're very welcome to the final of these webinars from myself and my colleagues here in Teagasc, Sligo, Leitrim, Donegal. My name is Ciaran. I'm a dry stock advisor based in Manorhamilton in County Leitrim, and I will be your host here this evening. Tonight we cover an area that always generates a lot of interest and a lot of questions. Education. What are the benefits and what are my options? I'm joined tonight by Veronica Ryan of the Manorhamilton office and by Kerins of the Ballymote office, and they'll be covering everything you need to know if you are considering agricultural education. Now, though we can't meet face to face, and we still want to keep things fairly interactive, and at the bottom of your screen you'll see a question and answer function, and you can send your questions and comments to our panel right throughout the presentations, and I will put them to them before the end. At this point, I'm going to call on Ciaran to share his screen, and we can begin.
Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect, Ciaran. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ciaran. And hello to everyone out there, and a very good evening to you. So the topic, as Ciaran said, is the Green Cert and education in general in the Sligo, Leitrim, Donegal region. The outline for the next hour or so is that I will take you through a brief synopsis of education in the region, what's going on in the classes and so on. And the second point then is that I will talk you through what is involved in completing the Green Cert. The third point is I will talk in a little bit more detail about the potential benefits of completing the Green Cert. And then I will hand you over to Veronica, and Veronica will take you through sort of education in a wider context and the possibility of progressing to higher and advanced levels of education. Okay, so first thing then is maybe an outline of what we're up to in Sligo, Leitrim, Donegal by way of education, agricultural education. We have 8 education officers based in Letterkenny, Manorhamilton, Ballymote. We typically have about 10 classes. Now that can vary. It can be as low as 8 and as high as 12, but in and around 10 classes. And that's made up of something in the region of 250 to 300 students at any one time. We deliver 2 types of Green Certs, 2 different modes of delivery. One is called distance or distance learning, and the second one then is a part-time option. We do give preference to those over 23. That's an important point to make. So the under 23s we tend to direct towards agricultural colleges, and Veronica will talk you through that later on. One point in relation to the distance learning option is that in order to do that, do the Green Cert by that method, you must already possess a QQI level 6 major award or higher. Okay, that's just one of the requirements. Other than that, everything is pretty much the same between distance and part-time. And I'll come back to that in a later slide. The bottom line there in red is very, very important. We have consistently a very, very high demand for education in the region, or agricultural education and the Green Cert in the region. And because of that, it's very important that you get your name on a waiting list. What we do is we keep a constant waiting list there. Anyone that rings us up making an inquiry about the Green Cert, we put their details on that waiting list. And then when it comes to the time of actually recruiting a class, we pull from that list. So it's vital to get your name on that list. If you're not on that list, you won't get onto a course. Basically, that's what I'm saying. The Green Cert itself, just as in passing, there's actually 2 different certificates that make up the Green Cert, what's commonly called the Green Cert. There's a level 5 certificate in agriculture, and there's a level 6 specific purpose certificate in farming. All our students do both certificates, and you need the level 6 specific purpose certificate in farming for all the potential benefits, taxation benefits and scheme benefits. The level 5 is a major award. It's a QQI major award, and it's a standalone award, but it does not qualify you for for the various taxation and scheme benefits. You must have both. And there's just a copy of, or a photograph of the certificates there on the right. And funnily enough, these green certs are actually blue certs. Okay. So what is involved in completing the green cert then in Sligo, Leitrim or Donegal? The duration of the course is approximately 18 months for the distance class and approximately 2 years for the part-time class. The part-time class operates on a 1 day per week basis, typically from September, October around to April for two years or 2 winters. And then immediately following that, there's another 10 days approximately at level 6. And that usually is over the summertime of the second year or perhaps in September, October of the second year. The distance, in contrast, then there's less contact time with the distance class. It's only 1 day every 3 weeks. And most of our part-time classes tend to start in the autumn time of the year, and most of our distance classes tend to start in the springtime, but that's not a fixed in stone thing. Okay, so that's the gist of what's involved in the Green Cert. Now the program itself, then the course itself, what can you expect if you sign up for a course? It's a mixture of, first and foremost, is classwork. So you attend a training center and it's normal classwork. There are a series of workbooks. You can see some photographs of them on the right-hand side there. And they're very, very good reference material. There's also a thing called Moodle, which is an online platform, and there's a lot of resource material there available to the student as backup material, we'll say. Moodle is also used for some assessment and examination purposes as well. The skills training and assessment is carried out on local farms. Okay, we use, and you know, just an aside there is we're extremely grateful to all those farmers out there that do assist us, because it's a fantastic resource, and really without them we couldn't deliver the education program in the region. And then there's attendance at advisory events. We see this has been a very important component of the Green Cert. There's an awful lot of activity in the unit, in activities such as discussion groups, farm walks, seminars, that type of thing, and we encourage students to get involved in all of that. Okay, just maybe, you know, in case I forget later on, it's important to say that, you know, for those of you maybe that had weren't too fond of school and that, and you were glad to see the back of it, the Green Cert is quite different in how it's delivered. We you know, we're very conscious that we're dealing with adults first of all, and everything we do, our teaching methods are very interactive, and we try and encourage sort of feedback, and we encourage students to exchange their own experiences. And one thing I always say to students on introductory and information nights is that in all probability, a student will learn as much from their classmates as they will from us. They'll certainly learn a lot from us, and also the skills farms and farmers that they meet on the course. But, you know, talking to, typically in a class, you'll have 25, 30 students. They come from a great range, a great background, a great range of backgrounds, and there's an awful lot of learning in that. And there's also a very important social element to the Green Cert. It's a very, very good thing to do from that perspective as well. It's making connections and making friends, and that's an important component as well. I just put up here a list of some of the modules or subjects, if you like, that are on the Green Cert. And, you know, they're all pretty much familiar, I think, the kind of subjects that you would expect to have on a course like this. You have your beef husbandry, sheep husbandry, soils, grass production. Safety, of course, is a huge one. And then a lot on the business side of farming. And there's no getting away from it. Farming is certainly a business and needs to be treated as such. One interesting subject is the Start Your Own Business module. Students, particularly like this, I believe. And what it's about is that it's trying to get students to look outside their traditional farming operation to look for other ideas and other possibilities of drawing in additional income into the household. And let's be honest, this reflects reality in the region, that there are very few farmers that can survive solely on the farm itself. Most farmers need income coming in different directions. And there are certainly opportunities to generate additional income through starting some sort of a business on your farm. So we bring them through that process, and it's a very, very good module. It's quite different to some of the other subjects, and students like it. The mechanical pesticide application module, just a word on it. It's very important in the sense that you will be trained on how to calibrate and operate a sprayer properly. And it does qualify students to apply for a professional user number, which is required now for all farmers that are applying pesticide. So that's incorporated into the Green Cert. And I think that's an important thing. And then other things then like sustainable farming, there's no getting away from that. That is the future, and it's going to be much more important, especially with the onset of a new common agricultural policy. So the whole notion of sustainable farming and the environment is very important. Assessment. So assessment is a combination of things. It's a combination of your kind of traditional exams, but they're more short answer rather than long answer type exams. There are some assignments, then there are various assignments in the different modules, some computer-based stuff. There's a diary at level 5 and level 6. The diary is important because, we see it as, it's a way for students to sort of understand their own business that little bit better. Understanding the flow of money in and out of the farm, and looking at ways to identifying strengths and weaknesses, I suppose, of the farm. And that's very, very important when it comes to long-term planning and development of the farm. And then skills assessment is a very large component, especially at level 5. The skills that are assessed and you'll receive training on are all the beef and sheep skills, and they're the standard skills that every farmer will be dealing with. And most of our students are already quite good on these skills. There are some areas where they may have, I suppose, bad practice, and particularly in relation to safety, I think. And we hopefully maybe help them to improve on those skills. Grassland skills are particularly in relation to a little bit of fencing there, as is demonstrated in that photograph there. A little bit of fencing, a small bit of plumbing, and then quite a bit on grassland measurement and grassland management as well. There's a lot of skills there, and they're very useful, and it's kind of, they're new skills. Most of our students wouldn't have measured grass before, for example, and drawn up budgets and that type of thing, and we do that on the course. There's tractor driving, some basic tractor driving as well, with a big emphasis on the safety aspects of the thing rather than the operating the different machines. And of course, the boom sprayer then is part of pesticide application, and that's an essential component for your to become a professional user. So the skills are students enjoy them because it means getting out on the farm, and we always, when we're out on the beef farm, say, or a sheep farm for skills training, we're also talking to the farmer and we're discussing, and he's chatting with the students, and there's great interaction, and there's a huge learning in that. Now, the benefits then, and I suppose this is will be of great interest, I think, to all of you. I've sort of divided up. I always tend to divide up the potential benefits into three kind of categories, and the first thing there, and I would say this by far and away is the most important aspect of the Green Cert course, is that you're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot of new skills. You're going to and a new approach to farming. All right, you hopefully you will have a more open mind to how your farm will develop when by the time you finish a Green Cert. You'll be prepared to examine that farm and be creative and be determined in how you bring that farm forward. And that's really of great benefit, long-term benefit. And that's what's important to emphasize here. If you improve your performance on the farm, your efficiency on the farm, even by a small amount, 5, 10, 15%, that can be a colossal over a whole career, right? So I would put that number one there, knowledge, skill, experience. That's going to be really, really where the major benefit of the program is. Now, having said that, there are other very, very, sometimes very quick and very direct and tangible benefits. The two I have outlined there in red are taxation benefits. So stamp duty relief. Stamp duty relief, say typically for a family, father, mother, transferring the farm to a son or daughter. That's typically where they can avail of a thing called consanguinity relief. That will bring stamp duty from 7.5% down to 1%. If in that scenario, the student or the young farmer had the Green Cert, it would bring it down to 0. Okay, provided the student is, or provided the young farmer is less than 35 at the time of the transfer. If the young farmer was to buy a piece of land, it will be at 7.5%. With the Green Cert, that will be 0% stamp duty. So there could be a major benefit there, just depending on individual circumstances and so on. Also with stock relief. Stock relief is, to put it in its simplest form, if your stock, the value of your stock increases over the year, for whatever reason, you're gradually building up numbers or something like that. So if the value of your stock increases over the year, then the taxman will look at that as income. So you will be subjected to income tax on that increased inventory or that increased stock value. All farmers are entitled to a 25% reduction on that, or called stock relief. But young trained farmers are entitled to 100% relief for a period of 4 years, stock relief. That can be very beneficial where a young farmer takes over a farm that maybe has been, where the stock numbers have fallen down a little bit, and they take over, then the young farmer takes over and they're full of enthusiasm, and they increase stock significantly over a relatively short period of time. Without this stock relief, they would be subjected to quite a bit, or could be subjected to quite a bit of income tax. So stock relief can be of great benefit. Sometimes it's even of more benefit than the stamp duty relief. The Green Cert also has an influence or potential benefit when it comes to capital acquisitions tax. But that's kind of, it's too detailed to get into here. And one thing I would say in relation to taxation is that always check with your accountant, because they're the experts on this. And the other thing about tax is that it can change in any budget. So conditions and terms and conditions can change, and you need to be conscious of that and wary of that. And always when it comes to schemes like that, as with inheritance in general, plan well in advance. Seek advice well in advance of any transfer or any transaction happening. That's the way to do it in relation to taxation. That's the best way of trying to minimize tax. The last group of things, and in blue there, you could call them sort of scheme or potential scheme benefits. So the first one there, the Young Farmer Scheme. And maybe before I talk about the three of them there, again, there's an important thing to say here, and that is that we are now in a transition phase in terms of European funding and European scheme and the Common Agricultural Policy. And it will be 2023 before the new Common Agricultural Policy is in place, and new schemes are also in place. And we don't know what those schemes will be. We don't know the shape of those schemes. We certainly don't know the details of those schemes. So they could be quite different to the three I have identified here, but hopefully they'll be at least as good and maybe even more generous than these ones. But you need to keep an eye on the media and so on, and keep in touch with Teagasc to keep updated on these, what's happening in relation to these schemes. The Young Farmer Scheme is the essential benefit here is that you're looking at a 25% top up on your basic payment over a 5-year period. So the young farmer will get 25% per annum for 5 years more than, say, his parents are getting. Okay, so that's potentially a very good scheme. The National Reserve, to put it into maybe a simplest form again, is that it's a pool of entitlements, or a pool of money that's dished out then to young farmers and new entrants to farming. It's particularly good if a young farmer is taking over a farm that maybe has low entitlements, or taking over a farm that possibly has no entitlements. Or if a young farmer was to buy a farm with no entitlements, the National Reserve is a once-off chance to get entitlements on that land, right up to the national average. One thing about the National Reserve that's important, terms and conditions here are very important with all these schemes. With the National Reserve, there is an off-farm income limit of a gross off-farm income limit of 40,000. That's the current condition. So if your off-farm income is over that, you're not eligible at the minute. Again, these things can change, so you just need to watch all these things all the time. And finally, then the Young Farmers Investment Scheme. You probably all have heard of the TAM scheme, a very good scheme out there for capital investment on farms. And again, typically, if a farmer is eligible for it, it's at a 40% rate. A young trained farmer is eligible for a grant of 60%. So it's again potentially a very, very attractive scheme, especially if a young farmer is taking over a farm where capital investment maybe is required or needed. Okay, that's all I'm going to say for the minute. And I'm going to transfer back to Veronica, or to Ciaran, and Veronica then will take it on from here, and she will talk to you about sort of options to progress in education, and wider options in terms of courses. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, Ciaran. If you want to stop sharing your screen, and just while Veronica is sharing her screen next, I just remind the attendees here this evening that the question and answer function is open out there at the bottom of your screen. And just if you have any questions on any of the topics or any of the matters that come up over the course of the hour, please feel free to put them in the question and answer function, and I will put it to Veronica and Ciaran towards the end of this evening's presentations. Veronica, yeah, if you want to go ahead there whenever you're ready, thanks.
Lovely. Can you hear me properly there, Ciaran?
Yeah, clear, and we can
Perfect.
see it, and everything looks well. Thank you.
Okay, lovely stuff. Okay, good evening, everybody. As Ciaran and Ciaran have both said, I'm Veronica Ryan, and I'm an education officer based here in the Teagasc office in Manorhamilton. And I don't really want to rehash over anything that Ciaran has already covered, but I'm just going to highlight maybe the two important points that are there in terms of how we deliver the course within the region. And the reason I'm doing that is to put really my presentation into context. And we deliver the class through part-time education for those that are over 23 for the most part, and also through distance education for those who are already in possession of a major level 6 award in a non-agricultural related discipline, or awards that are higher than that on the QQI scale. And I suppose my presentation is going to look at those that are maybe coming out of the secondary school option, where they feel that the CAO system might have let them down somewhat, in that their choice of education or progression in education may very well have been a degree in UCD or somewhere, and that they couldn't avail of that option through the CAO, and that they actually feel any future educational opportunities are gone for them. And that is not the case. Okay, there are various pathways of progression that you can avail of that can get you to your chosen career, no matter what you might choose to do. So I want to talk a little bit on that, but also to maybe highlight any parents that are listening out there. And again, because of maybe a son or daughter who is only dying to come home and farm, but you know, they may go on and do the green cert, but they're not in a position to come home and farm yet. Parents might still be quite young, and there may be other siblings to be reared at home or put through college yet. And it's really to kind of, I suppose, talk through the career opportunities that might be there for these students who progress on maybe through the ag college system, rather than maybe with ourselves in the part-time and distance education route. Okay, so just keep it in mind. There are a lot of opportunities out there in terms of education progression, but career opportunities as well, if you want to find them. Okay, I'm not going to harp too much on this, but just to point out that I suppose in the 26 counties, there are 12 regional units right across Teagasc, and there is education being delivered in part-time, distance education or college right across the 26 counties. And you may or may not be aware of the fact, but there are 4 Teagasc colleges providing not just the Green Cert course in terms of how we deliver it with the certificate in agriculture at level 5 and the specific purpose certificate in farming at level 6. There are many other courses that these colleges are also delivering, and I'll give you an idea of what they are a little bit later on in the presentation. But the 4 Teagasc colleges that are out there delivering these courses, in addition to ourselves, are Ballyhaise in Cavan, Clonakilty in Cork, Kildalton in Kilkenny, and the Botanical Gardens in Dublin, where really there's a lot of the horticultural courses that are delivered there in addition to Kildalton. But also out there are 3 private colleges, Gurteen in Tipperary, Mountbellew in Galway, and Pallaskenry in Limerick, where Teagasc staff have been seconded to deliver some of the courses that are available through those colleges as well. So it's not just through the regions. There are 7 other colleges that are out there where you may find a program that you want to get involved in terms of your education and your career prospects. In terms of progression in your education through, and I suppose from the Green Cert and right along, there are 3 steps involved in this, I suppose. The first one, I'm not going to dwell on it at all in terms of the specific purpose certificate in farming. Ciaran has already covered that in terms of what we do in course delivery in the regions. But the second step that's there is what we call further education. And under this, really it's full-time education through the ag colleges that are out there, the 7 that I have listed. And these are 2-year courses that are ran throughout the colleges in order to avail of the advanced certificate. Everybody completes the level 5 certificate in agriculture, and at that, I suppose, juncture in your education, you make a decision then whether you want to continue on and do the advanced certificate in maybe dairying or dry stock. You might want to move on to forestry, to horticulture. Your options are there and available to you. And also, you may decide at that point in time that academia isn't something that you want to continue on with in terms of going into the higher education situation and availing of a degree at level 7, which is the pass degree, or an honours degree at level 8. And, you know, before you move on to, I suppose, the degree level, there is the opportunity to avail of the apprenticeship structure. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on too, whereby you could go on and do a level 7 QQI accredited course in management. And Irish trained students are not only wanted at home, but globally there is a great demand out there for Irish trained students at management level for the management of some of these larger and expanding herds right across the country or across the world. And I suppose where a son or daughter may be just too young to come home and farm yet, but who may very much want to keep their hand in farming, but take on a management role on a farm until they're ready to come home and farm. It's a fantastic opportunity to involve not just education, but work and travel together until they're ready to do that. And I've included this kind of steps of a ladder here, I suppose, as such, or stairs going upwards, just to kind of give you an idea that that progression through education in agriculture is very much a real thing. Everybody who comes out with the level 5 certificate in agriculture is employable at, I suppose, a farm operative level. Those who come out with the advanced certificate, be it in dry stock or dairying at level 6, would be employable at a technician level. And every now and again, you'll see adverts in the papers where the Department of Agriculture is looking to take on technicians either on a part-time basis or on a full-time basis. And their entry level for employment in that area is now the advanced certificate. And if you get a step in the door at all with the Department of Agriculture, there is a natural career progression that will be made available to you. But their entry level is the advanced certificate at level 6. The level 7 option is where you can either continue on through maybe the IT structures such as Dundalk IT, LYIT. There are various connections with some of the educational institutions out there that we have, and I'll give you an idea of what they are in another slide. You can continue on and do the level 7 pass degree after the 2 years are completed for the advanced certificate in some of those institutions. But remember, at level 7, you can also go on and do a management of a farm either locally or globally as well through the apprenticeship option. And then at level 8 is what is, I suppose, described as the experienced or professional development step on the ladder. And to give you an idea on that, when I was employed initially by Teagasc many moons ago, the entry requirement at that stage was a level 8 degree in agriculture, and it was an honours degree that you had to have. And that education standard is still there. And in some cases, you benefit in terms of getting employment if you have a level 9 or onwards, and it is possible to go on further. And indeed, some of my own colleagues have gone through the, I suppose, the Ag College route in order to get their degree and their employment through Teagasc. And some of the students that we have had on the various courses have gone on to do master's degrees also through this route. So anything is possible for anyone who feels that they may have been slightly hard done by if the CAO system fails them at this moment in time. Okay, I've just put this list of courses up there. This is, I suppose, the further education courses that are available out there through the ag colleges. And all of these, I suppose, they're at really the level 6 because everybody completes the level 5 certificate in agriculture and then moves on to the level 6 at dairy herd management, maybe dry stock herd management. And this is offered through all of the ag colleges that are out there. But it's very important that you, as either a potential student of these colleges or a parent of a student who might want to go to these colleges, that you do your homework a little bit on this and make sure that you choose the right course for you. And the best thing that you can do is go onto the Teagasc public website, www.teagasc.ie. And when you open the main screen on that website, to the right-hand side of the screen, up near the top, there's a link for education, and you will find all of the colleges and all of the courses that are available and a complete breakdown of all of those courses that are available for you to apply through maybe their online system. And that's where you keep an eye out for opening dates and for applications to be received for them. Just to highlight a little bit here, if a child, or I'm going to say child or a potential student, might be interested in doing something in crops and machinery management, then the 2 ag colleges that will follow through on that progression path for you would be Kildalton in Kilkenny and Gorcheen in Tipperary. If you were looking at agricultural mechanisation, you'd be looking at Ballyhaise in Cavan or Pallaskenry down in Limerick. And just to highlight on that as well, like there's a fantastic connection there through Tralee IT for the exceptional mechanisation course that's in Tralee IT as well, that also has links with the university in Limerick. And what you could find is that students who are mad for tractors, maybe rather than stock, and want to work in tractors or want to work in machinery, could find themselves getting jobs with the likes of John Deere or New Holland or High Spec or Keenan's or whoever. Like the world is your oyster, basically. But what you could find also is that in linking up with UL or the University in Limerick, that you would also get involved in maybe the computer programming side of agricultural mechanisation as well. So there are so many options that could be available to a student or a potential student who's just really mad for tractors maybe and not for stock. If somebody was interested in getting involved in the forestry side of agriculture, this would be done through Ballyhaise, but Ballyhaise also has a link for further progression in terms of higher qualifications with WIT down in Waterford IT. And that's a career path that you may be able to avail of. And your end result there could be potentially employment in the future with a state organisation, you know, maybe such as Quilcha. Okay. Pig management is also carried out in Ballyhaise, and I suppose it speaks for itself, it's pig management. But Clonakilty Ag College also covers pig management, and there are links then with the pig unit down in Moore Park also for further progression there. And poultry management is delivered through Ballyhaise. But the one thing I would say for the poultry management is that the course will be run dependent on the amount of interest that's out there in running a course. So it would be based on there being sufficient demand to put the course on in the first place. But I can't stress highly enough how important it is for all of you who might look at going to one of the agricultural colleges. You really need to go and do your homework and have a look at www.teagasc.ie and go on to the education link there and see what exactly is involved in any one of these courses and whether it's really for you. While I haven't it listed here for the purpose of this webinar, equine courses are also delivered through Kildalton, and the Botanical Gardens in Dublin and Kildalton as well deliver a phenomenal number of horticultural courses as well. For anybody who might be interested in that, please go onto those links and find what will suit you and what career opportunities it may open up to you based on the links that are established with other education institutions. And for those who want to progress on maybe to the pass or degree at level 7 or through to the honours degree at level 8, I've just put up a selection of some of the degrees that are available out there. There's an enormous amount of these. And again, these are listed all on the Teagasc website. So I'm not going to delve into any one of these. All of those green links there, they all open up into giving you further information on every one of those, where they're ran and what subjects are involved in it. But it is, I think, important to highlight that, you know, we have established fantastic links with these higher education organisations and institutions out there, with GMIT, with Waterford IT, with Letterkenny, with Dundalk, Tralee. You know, it's endless, really, the opportunities for career progression and education that are out there. And I can't leave out my old stomping ground of UCD from that list as well, way back in the day when I was once young. And I touched on the apprenticeships that can be available to somebody if that's the route they want to go down. It's no different really to any other apprenticeship that's opened up to people, even electrical or plumbing. It was identified, I think, back in 2017 that really there was a need to, I suppose, create a work-based pathway for learning in the agricultural sector that would link learners up with the requirements of industry. And at that stage, there were 5 land sector apprenticeships identified across agriculture, horticulture, and equine. 2 of those apprenticeship options go on to management at level 7 on the QQI scale, and the other 3 are at a technician level, technician at level 6. What I would say to you, if somebody is interested in finding out more of that, then you need to contact Kildalton Agricultural College down in Kilkenny, and I suppose the governance of the apprenticeships are dealt with through Kildalton. I've put up the word equivalence here because I think it's important to touch on it based on where we are, our unit here in Sligo, Leitrim, Donegal, and I suppose across the border counties as well, is that a week probably doesn't go by that somebody contacts us and asks us if a qualification that they obtained outside of the 26 counties would be the equivalent of a Green Cert here, and would it entitle them to the various benefits that Ciaran was talking about through the Revenue Commissioners and also with the Department of Agriculture. And there isn't a simple answer to give you on that one, because each course that somebody may have completed, it could be in Queen's and Belfast, it could be in Greenmount, it could be in Reese Heath College, it could be anywhere. And what we need to do is really map the modules that you were taught, I suppose, in your course to see, will they equate to the modules that were delivered in the Green Cert here? And if that is the case, then we can establish an equivalence for that course and get it recognised, and that's perfectly fine. But the one thing I would say to people is just don't assume that because you're doing a course that it will automatically qualify you for an equivalence in the 26 counties when it comes to the various schemes and the tax breaks that could be available to you. And if some of you have a query, make sure that you forward your qualifications and a list of the modules that you were taught or subjects that you were taught, and we can certainly forward that on. We have a designated person within the organisation who can map that equivalence for you, or not, as the case may be, okay? But the one thing is, just don't assume that it's an automatic given that there will be a level of equivalence for a course received outside of the 26 counties. I've just put up this list, and Ciaran has covered this already. I'm not going to go into any detail on this at all, other than to say that just because somebody would choose maybe to go through the Ag College route to do the Advanced Cert, or move on through the level 7 or level 8 qualifications, they're not disadvantaged in any way, shape or form in terms of the benefits that are available to them. Okay, so what we deliver in terms of part-time and distance education and what's delivered through the Ag Colleges and beyond ensures that those students can avail of all of those benefits through the Department of Agriculture and also with the Revenue Commissioners. So nobody is disadvantaged whichever route they choose to go down. Now, I'd just like to comment a little bit maybe on not the students in terms of the Ag Colleges anymore, but other short courses that are run for adults right across the country and in this region as well. And this is, again, is only, I suppose, a snapshot of some of the short courses that are available to adults to participate in. First one being an options course, and this, or the options program. And this links in beautifully, I think, with what Ciaran was talking about earlier with the Start Your Own Business module that we do here as part of the Green Cert. And students, I think for the most part, do enjoy it, but every year there are always maybe 2 or 3 students in every class who will take their proposal that little bit further and try to develop it into a real life business. And options really comes under rural development, and it's all about trying to enhance your own maybe farm income or indeed even the off-farm income. And when these programs are ran, they're ran over a series of weeks, one night a week. I think it's over 5 weeks. And when a topic is chosen, guest speakers are brought in. It could be from the bank. It could be somebody who has set up an artisan food business. It could be somebody involved in maybe glamping, B&Bs, etc., who will discuss with a room full of people, maybe 15, 20 people who might participate in the course, as to what they found good, what didn't work, where the pitfalls were, what to watch out for, what grants might be available through Leader, etc. And it's a fantastic course in terms of trying to enhance, I suppose, your own farm income in maybe choosing, you know, a slight spin-off that can run very, very sweetly along with the normal farming enterprise. Okay. Grass 10 is a program that I suppose is run and jointly with the Department of Agriculture. And the concept behind this is basically that farmers would see if they could strive towards 10 rotational grazings on their farm in any one year, growing 10 tonne of grass dry matter. what I would say with this is people will automatically assume that this is something that is open only to dairymen, and it isn't. This is something that very much dry stock farmers can avail of. And if you have any sort of a paddock system set up, you may be getting 5 or 6 rotations in your grazing season out of it. But if you could extend that or increase that up to maybe 8, 10 might not be possible for you. But every tonnage of grass that you can manage that little bit better and get into your stock may not increase your profitability in some cases, but it might actually help you to break even and possibly retain your single farm payments as profit for the farm. So every class that we have, who we try to educate a little bit in terms of grass and producing it and managing it, will hear us talk incessantly about the value of grass in trying to make your holding that little bit more profitable. So in a grass 10 program, whoever signs up for this would meet in and around the region of 8 to 10 times across the year with our grass 10 people and specialists. Managing labour on farm is something, I suppose, that really came to the fore after the quotas disappeared for the dairymen back in 2015, and expansion really, I suppose it exploded in the dairy side of business. And dairy farmers found themselves now all of a sudden no longer really being a farmer, but a manager of people, now having to deal with health and safety, with risk assessments, with wages, with staff welfare, delegation, etc. And that's not an easy thing for anybody to hand over or do. It doesn't come naturally to us. So if somebody is involved in I suppose, employing people who might like to participate in this course, if you want to contact me or any of the other education advisors, there's a lady in Teagasc, Niamh Allen, down in Cork, who compiles lists of people who are interested in participating in this, and we can certainly put your name on that list. The discussion groups is something that has been available to farmers right across the region and nationally as well. And that's even long before there were any KT payments made available to people for participation in the discussion groups. And I used to run a number of these myself over the years when I was an advisor, and they were fantastic in terms of, I suppose, building friendships, exchange of information, coming up with new ideas on how things could run that little bit more efficiently on your farm. And when these discussion groups run for long enough, farmers, because farming is a very isolated job, it turns around then that these people in the discussion group are generally your go-to people when you might be in a little bit of bother and you might need a little bit of a dig out. So when Ciaran mentioned about the social side of the educational training and doing the Green Cert, that also stands true for very much for our adult farmers. I'll put it that way. I'll describe them as my adult farmers in terms of discussion group participation. And it's something that all farmers should consider strongly. I'll touch on health and safety courses on the next slide. I do want to mention them. And I'll just mention, I suppose, we do have an organic advisor in the region if somebody is considering going down the route of organics. And I'm just mentioning that in light of the new organic scheme that has opened up. And if somebody needs to be put in touch with him as regards what courses and where to register, we can certainly put you in touch with that person if needs be. Now I'm nearly there. Just to talk a little bit on the health and safety courses, in particular for TAMS. When it comes to students getting the Green Cert, the level 5 certificate in agriculture that everybody gets, because health and safety is one of the modules we cover, the health and safety aspect of TAMS or drawing down grants in TAMS are covered for the first 5 years of you having your level 5 certificate. Every other farmer who falls out of 5 years, I suppose, since they were trained or they did a health and safety course, they must do another health and safety course to, I suppose, be compliant with the regulations for drawing down grants. In 2020, because of COVID, we weren't in a position to deliver those health and safety courses because we normally did them face-to-face for a short course, which is 3.5 hours in one day. And the HSA didn't give us the nod that we could actually go online and do those courses. That has now been lifted, and we are in a position to start running these courses online. I would suggest that because there has to be a backlog out there of people drawing down TAMS applications and needing to do the health and safety short courses, that please contact your local Teagasc office and get your name on a list. We'll need your name, address, mobile number and hard number to compile this list, and we'll contact you once we have sorted out how many we need to run. What I would say is I'm available to run them in Leitrim. Kerins is the go-to person, I suppose, for running these in Sligo, and Kevin McMenamin is in Donegal for the running of these courses as well. So please, if there is a backlog out there, let us know and we'll get a move on the delivery of these courses. The last thing I want to just mention is for our graduates who are out there at the minute, who may have just finished up the level 6 with us, and future graduates that are out there, we have, I suppose, it's not a program, but it's what we call the alumni. And it's a bit like the old boys club after you've graduated from college, I suppose, to a certain degree. And when you come out with your level 6, be it the advanced certificate or specific purpose certificate in farming, you're entitled to, for the first 12 months after you graduate, advice from a Teagasc advisor and participation in discussion group, I suppose, for new and young, I'll call you young graduates. You could find that there may be 3 or 4 people in your existing class that might want to participate in this discussion group, but there are, as Ciaran said, at any one time, there's 10 courses running throughout the region. So we would try and encourage newly graduated young farmers to participate in a group together. You are each other's peers and may have the same issues that might need to be dealt with. So this is something that is available, and we make it known to our graduates every year that this is something that is available. So for any of you who are out there who have recently graduated, like, please feel free to come back and contact us and let us know if this is something that you'd like to participate in, and we'll see if we can point you in the right direction for an advisor or a discussion group that is possible to form. Okay, I'm not sure of my timing on any of this, Ciaran, but that's the end of my presentation. So I'm quite happy to take some questions and whatever comes our way. So just thanks to everybody for your attention and listening to us. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks, Veronica. That's great. Yeah, so look, the number of questions is reasonably limited. We haven't had a huge pile of questions in, so I think we'll take that as kind of a guarantee or reflection on the quality of the information that was covered this evening. There are a couple of kind of specific questions, but maybe I won't go into the specifics, but of this particular case, there's an outline case here, but maybe I'll break it into 2 separate questions. One is, I know as an advisor myself, is that you would often get somebody coming in at 18, 19 years of age, eager to get a herd number immediately and get started farming, and maybe follow up then with a green cert, you know, following getting the herd number, rather than going flat out, you know. So I just wonder what would be your advice to someone like that who is eager to get started farming on their own herd number at, you know, 18, 19, 20, whatever they at that age.
Yeah, okay, Ciaran, I'll take that. Our advice, our general advice would be normally to hold off if you can on getting a herd number and starting out in farming until you have your green cert in your back pocket. Because with many of the schemes, once you get a herd number, you are effectively setting up in farming and the clock starts ticking. So the general advice is to hold off if you can until you get your green cert.
And just can I just
yeah,
add
go ahead,
maybe
Veronica,
a smidge to that? The reason why it's important to be aware of the clock ticking is that it's for the first 5 years of you being a young trained farmer that you are deemed eligible for these higher rates of payments with the Department of Agriculture, the top-ups, the young farmer schemes, all of that. So the minute you put your name on a herd number, that clock starts ticking down whether or not you have a green cert in your hand. And to be able to avail of these, the departments state that you must have your green cert. Okay, so you could potentially miss out on a year or 2 of payments that you might be eligible for otherwise. And that's why we would say just wait, if you can at all, wait. Don't be in a rush to put your name on a herd number until you have the green cert done.
Yeah, look, I think that's very clear. Like, just to emphasize, is you could, as you said yourself, somebody applies for the herd number when they're 18, the 5 years are up when they're 23, and the department launched something for young farmers when they're maybe approaching their 24th birthday, and they're effectively
they're no longer eligible
for nothing.
Yeah.
I think that's very good. Yeah, so just to follow that up is again related to this query, is there somebody there that got established at some stage and couldn't get on a course or had their name down? And now, again, I don't want to go into specifics of the case, but I just want, is there anything, if somebody is really eager, has got a herd number and really wants to get on a course, quickly, what is the best way of going about it? If that clock is ticking for them and they want to get on a course, what is the best way that they can pursue that?
The best thing, the first thing to say is that is to ring us. Ring your local education officer, wherever that might be. If it's in Sligo, ring me by all means, and if it's in Leitrim, ring Veronica, and in Donegal, then there's Kevin and Pat and Dwayne and Eve up there. So ring any education officer and just talk, let us know what your circumstances are, and we will see. We will know what courses are coming up and whether we can get you in on it or not. But the important thing is to talk to us. Don't let the thing drift, because we do have a huge demand. Unfortunately, well, it's good. It's a positive thing, but we can't accommodate everyone when they want to do the course necessarily.
Okay, thanks, Ciaran. That's great. Another question that came in there was just regard to, and quite a general thing there. This question is phrased with regard to somebody coming in who has reading difficulties, but somebody with any kind of a challenge to their learning, or that how is that dealt with, or how are they at a major disadvantage, or how do you deal with that at a local level?
Anybody, I suppose the first thing is that they let us know. Okay, so the worst thing that somebody can do is kind of plod along through the Green Cert and we're not aware that there is a difficulty. So if it's made known to us, and with that question, we obviously don't know the specifics of that either. So they would need to tell us exactly what it is that they need. And absolutely, we will do our best to accommodate that person. Nobody will ever be disadvantaged in terms of participating in the Green Cert because of any disability, be that learning or physical. So I would say, please come and let us know. Absolute confidentiality is assured in terms of your particular situation. But if we don't know, we can't do anything about it for you. Please talk to us.
If I could add to that as well, there's a lot of supports there, and we also link in with the ETB, for example, and it might be reassuring to that questioner that pretty much in every class we have students who would have some issue with learning. It's a very, very common problem. So there's absolutely nothing unique about it. And I would reassure, in particular, if there's someone listening there that might have had a bad experience or whatever in school, that don't let that put them off doing the Green Cert. And equally, I'd say to parents, if you have a son or daughter there that you might be anxious about whether they'll be able to get through the Green Cert or not, talk to us. We can offer plenty of support. And we certainly do our best for everyone, irrespective of where they're at, where they're coming from.
Okay, thanks very much, Ciaran. We're just 9 o'clock now, so I think we're going to call things to a halt. That is it for this evening. That is it for this series. Many thanks to all of you for joining us, whether it was just this evening or whether you've been through each of the webinars in this series or in the winter one prior to Christmas. I'd like to thank Veronica and Ciaran for their presentations this evening, and for your questions that you sent in. Hopefully, we will get to see you somewhere, whether it's in a field, a hotel, or one of the local offices in the not too distant future. Thanks to you all for joining us this evening. That's it. Stay safe. Thank you and good night.